You already know, man. Superhero fitness, let's go.
Yeah, I'm getting to these games. Yeah, I'm getting.
Alright guys, let's take you through this mobility workout. Alright, so the first thing I jumped it off with is my ankles. So basically what I'm doing here is trying to keep my foot flat on the floor as I push my knee forward. So initially what I'm doing, I'm actually rocking it forward and side to side. I'm applying that pressure. The reason why I'm going like side to side is so I can find any tight spots or tighter than normal. So what I do is I'm pushing down, applying pressure with my hand, seeing if I find any tight spots within the ankle. Now, once you find that tight spot, you should hang out in that section or in that spot for at least about 10 seconds or so. And it's gonna be slow seconds. So usually how I count is I breathe. 1,000, 2 1,000. So pretty much kind of like that. And of course, whatever you do to one side, you got to get the other side a little bit of love, man. So that's basically what's going on here. Again, kind of important things to remember is to be applying the pressure with your arm, pushing down so that your knee goes past your toe. And when you're doing that, you want to make sure your heel does not come off the ground. And like I said, I usually do 10 seconds side to side, and then I hold it in that one particular spot for about 10 seconds. All right, next up, I call these knee squats. These are doing two things. These are stretching out my ankles again. So, okay, before I do the knee squats, I'm just sitting in this position. I'm actually rolling my ankles. So continually stretching my ankle now. I stretch. The first stretch I was doing my ankles, I was doing my calves, I was doing my Achilles tendon. Now I'm doing my tibia area and the front part of my ankles. I like to rock back and forth on this. Sometimes they'll pop, man. So I like to rock back and forth, find the areas that's tight, and then from there, find the area that's tight, and then I kind of focus on the area. Next, after that, these are basically the knee squats. So I'm just giving you a front angle of what the knee squats are. I'm pushing down with my quads, and basically, man, just warming up or going through extension and flexion of my quads. Give you a side view. I keep my feet nice and flat on the ground, and I will even lean back a little bit as give us a better little stretch in the quads and the thighs. So knee squats, generally do about 10 or so of these. Yeah, about 10 or so, 10 to 12, 15, anywhere in that general range. If you're a little bit tighter one day than the other, then you can add a few more. Next, hamstrings. So this is my laying hamstring stretch, my laying hamstring mobility here. What I'm doing, pulling my leg in towards my body, and then I am using my quads and I'm tightening them to stretch out my hamstring. One of the best mobility exercises for your hamstring is this bad boy right here. I usually do it about 10 times, and then I'll hold it at the top of the 10th one for about 10 seconds. Now, one of the huge things you want to remember, always pull. The other thing is going to be flex your toe down. Man, it's a whole different stretch and feeling. It ratchets it up the intensity when you flex that toe down. As you can see, I'm doing right now. And about 10 seconds or so. All right, cool. Then after we do that one, the next thing that's up is going to be, I call these basically, man, this is for your hips. So now we're transitioning to your hips. I really don't have a name for this. I usually call them hip to stand or something like that. Not really important. But what I'm basically doing here from this shin box position is pushing my hip down and basically hip hinging. So you're going to feel it, and your groin on one side should be stretchy, and you're working through your mobility of the front side on the other leg. So that's the shin box position. I'm just trying to get a good camera angle for you guys. And so now on my left leg, I'm working through the hip mobility. I should do a better job pushing that hip forward. And on the right leg now, I'm getting a nice, really good stretch in the groin. And again, with mobility training, it's no set number. We're thinking about getting through the motion fluently. I usually do about 10 to 12. But like I say, if I'm tighter in my hips, or I'm about to do some squats or something like that, I will add more repetition as I go along. I'm gonna have to apologize for the camera angle on this one. I noticed a little bit too late, but you can't see what my other knee is doing. But both of my knees are exactly in the same position. This is now so we did the hips. Now we're gonna do the inner thigh and the growing area. We're gonna work through that mobility. So still working in the hips. What I call this is tactical frog with rotation. So basically what you're doing, you're getting on your elbows and knees, pretty much spreading your legs as comfortably as you can get them. You don't want any pain, but you want to be pretty stretched out. And from that, you're basically rolling, pushing the hip down, turning your foot out, foot comes up in the air, and you're really taking your hip through that socket, taking that bone through that socket, really forcing your body, your leg to go through its entire hip mobility, right? Hip range of motion. So, and with this one, same time, same number, man, about 10 or so is what I try to do. I will, especially when I do, this is a great one if you guys do sumo deadlifting at all. Love to do this before my sumo deadlifts. Helps a ton, a ton. Next, good old scorpion. So now my main reason for doing this one is lumbar, but then also my hip flexor. So I'm really stretching, going through the range of motion, the hip flexor, and also some rotation and mobility in the lower lumbar of the spine. So you don't want to move your hands at all. As you can see, I don't have great range of motion in this. You want to get your foot to touch your hand. Sometimes I can do it, but today, as you see, I'm not even close. But some days better than other days. So next time I try, hopefully I'll be a lot closer. After that, we moved on to cat, dog, cat, camel, cat, cow. I don't know what these people call it these days, but I just call it cat, dog. So basically what we're doing here, thoracic extension and flexion, middle part of the spine. We worked the lumbar a little bit. Now we're gonna open up that spine from extension and then flexion, extension and flexion in the quadrant position, just meaning, you know, knees right underneath your hip, wrists, elbows right underneath your shoulder. So I like to do like 12 of those or so. All right, next. Now we're going a little bit of thoracic rotation here. So basically same position, you're just getting that elbow, you're getting your shoulder reaching underneath your body, and you're getting that bad boy all the way to the ground. And pause for a split second. Great for some thoracic rotation, man. One of my favorite exercises that I do part of the mobility program. And like I say, whatever you do to one side, man, you got to do the other. And also, I'm going to take this time to explain why to do mobility. We do mobility so we can actually get into the positions that we're requiring our body to get into. when we're squatting, when we're deadlifting, when we're bench pressing, through life. Mobility helps you be comfortable in those positions. When your body gets uncomfortable or can't reach certain position, it requires a different movement pattern, and generally, man, that's how we get injured. From things, not, of course, not blunt trauma. Of course, somebody punch you in the face, you're gonna have a black eye. Not that kind of trauma, but your back is hurting because you were squatting because you couldn't squat all the way down past parallel, right? Because you have an ankle issue or a hamstring issue. That's why we do mobility, and it even works for in life as well too. Try to get in and out of cars, you're reaching for something, you're trying to do something, your body is not comfortable getting in that position, so then you injure yourself because it has to change its movement pattern. Basically, why we should be doing mobility as often as possible. And it's a great way too, if you're already injured, it's a great way to start working back to exercising again, and you burn some calories when you do these type of workouts. So this right here is what we call Spider-Man. I basically do this again for that thoracic rotation, but then also hamstring. This is a total, kind of a full body mobility exercise. I love this bad boy. Really, really good for me personally, my hips and my hamstring. So when you're getting back into training, guys, you don't have to get under a bar right away. We can do some things like mobility drills when you're trying to prevent an injury, doing mobility drills. When you're trying to be as strong as possible, because you're squat, deadlift, bench press, overhead press, all these things, you want to be able to get to those positions. And so that's why we should, always do some kind of mobility training. All right, this is walkout. This is one of my favorite, if not the top upper body mobility exercise, just using your body. I have some other ones like using sticks and stuff like that, but this is the best one, in my opinion, for upper body and not using any equipment. So basically, you spread your feet wide enough to where you can touch the ground without bending your leg. That's important because we do want to get a hamstring stretch and a calf stretch. Put your hands on the ground, walk them out into a plank or push-up position, lower yourself down, and then you have a couple options what you could do. This one I'm doing a cobra stretch because I've been dealing with some back issues. So I'm taking the time to get me another back stretch in. But you could do push-ups at this time if you wanted to, which is another one I do a lot as well. So you got some leeway at the end what to do. And also that thing is so good. Sometimes I actually use it for my clients as a workout. A lot of times I'll make walkouts their exercise and throw a push-up in. All right, so now we just take it that shoulder through its range of motion, rotating externally and externally. My dang headphones got in the way, but so I was like, why does it don't feel right? There you go. Shoulder all the way to the ground, rotate it internally, then rotate it back. Nice and control. Really helps open up that shoulder girdle. Guys, if you're doing all the pressing movements, overhead press, bench press, definitely want to make sure your shoulder is in good health. This will help with that. If you had any pre-existing shoulder injuries, this will help with that as well. Just working through that range of motion to make sure we're comfortable at getting from rotating inward, rotating outward, internally and externally. All right, I gotta get my headphones back on. Back in the zone. All right, so now throwing some flows into the mix here. Gotta tie my shoes up. My bad, man. This is a poor editor job, but anyway, I gotta tie my shoes. Then we're gonna go into some flows. I got two flows for you guys. This, basically what a flow is, it is going from one range of motion exercise to another without breaking in between. It's transitioning from one exercise to another. This is, I call the hip flow, is the whole thing, but this first exercise is the shin box. My hips get so tight. This is the hardest thing for me to do, is the shin box sometimes. You can see me grimacing a little bit because I'm struggling. My hip flexor get really, really tight from time to time. All right, so I usually break them down, but for today's video, I'm gonna show you the entire thing. Shin box, up, and then down. There you go. Basically, I lost my balance that time. So basically it goes shin box, which is that. We're going with that hip to knee And then we're going basically to a lunge position. That's going to be for the ankle. And then we're rotating in a squat. That's going to be for the groin. And then for your full squat mobility, right? And you're getting those feet nice and flat. And I generally do these about 20 times or so. And this thing gets you sweating, man. One of my favorite things to do. So any leg day you guys got, if you want to throw some flows in, I'm telling you, it will change up how you feel. Your back will feel better. Hips will feel better. Ankles, knees, shoulders, everything would just be a lot open. It would just feel like you're open. So the second one is, I call this a posterior flow. So I got kind of confused there. All right, here we go. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is like a scorpion into a hamstring stretch, then a glute stretch. That's how I started back out, then I'm reversing. So I do this a few times, and then I'm gonna start adding some things to my flow, basically. Stretch, 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 one position to another. Oh yeah. Like I said, it's a full body, full lower body, full posterior chain movement, just to help you guys and to make sure you can get into position. Your body can only get in a position it can get into comfortably if we do things like this. Now, a lot of exercise help with mobility anyway, like squats help with your overall mobility if you're squatting a depth. So I'm not saying like we can't do it without doing these things, these mobility exercises, but they help. So what I tend to do is I take one day a week and I'll do all mobility like I did today with some cardio. But I do like on leg day, I'll do certain ones just for leg training. When I'm doing pressing upper body days, I'll do certain ones for pressing the upper body. So I don't do this whole entire routine every day. This was like my mobility day / cardio routine that I did. So, all right, guys. So hopefully this video, was helpful, and you guys start using some of these drills, prevent some of these injuries, get a little stronger, But like always, man, don't be stingy with your gains. Share this video, like, comment, and subscribe, baby.